Well, that was shit. We have all experienced both miserable times in the bedroom and magical times in the bedroom. Why is that? Why do we have times that are miserable and other times that are magical? There are things that we do, that we can do, that can lead to us either having a miserable experience or a magical experience. So in this video, I'm going to share 3 of the things that you want to avoid because they are the top 3 mistakes that men make in the bedroom that lead to, you guessed it, a miserable experience. So stick around because you want to make sure that we're not doing these things, okay? They don't feel good. If you find this video helpful, in the bottom right hand corner, you will see a red button, a square that says subscribe. Click on that button so that you can get the latest brand new videos and tools as I share them. Let's go straight in with mistake number 1. Now, by the way, these 3 mistakes have come from my own experience. I can validate that I've done every single one of these things, and they've come from what I hear most often with the guys that I speak to and work with. See if you resonate as we go through each one. Number 1, 0 to 100 miles an hour. 0 to 100 miles an hour. What does this look like? Well, it can look like our partner's just come back in from work, or we've just come back in from work. A hug, kiss. The kiss turns into snogging very quickly, and then let's take off the clothes, let's go to the bedroom. There's an immediate 0 to 100 miles an hour. That's one example. Another example may be, let's say we've had a really nice date and we've come back home and we're now in the bedroom, taking the clothes off. A bit of kissing, a bit of cuddling, immediately going for sex straight away. This is 0 to 100 miles an hour. Why is this a mistake? There's a whole host of reasons, but let me talk about the top 2. Number 1, because for men, this is where we can seriously start to have our, I've got to do this right, I've got to perform well, I've got to stay hard, I've got to get this over and done with. So imagine just stepping our foot down on the accelerator, and the anxiety can very quickly kick in when that happens. Not all the time, okay? There are times where 0 to 100 miles an hour, it just works every so often, but this is not what sex should be like 80% of the time. Number 2, especially for women, 0 to 100 is not usually what does it well, okay? It's about the build-up, it's about the anticipation. I'm going to be coming on to some more of these things shortly. 0 to 100 miles an hour quite simply can be a turn-off for many people. You know what it's like when someone launches their tongue down your throat when you didn't expect it, or let's shall we have sex now, right? When we don't expect it, and it's like, oh, okay, the myth that men should be ready, spontaneous at any time, it's a myth. That's number 1. Number 2, mistaking the physical act of sex for the deep act of eroticism. Sex and eroticism are 2 very different things. Often we think the word eroticism just means sex, but a bit kinky. It's not that. And we get confused by thinking, oh, with our partner, we should be having sex more. I should be having sex more. If I'm a man, then I should be able to get them into bed more often. And actually, we don't just want more sex. Why would we want more of the same miserable sex? No. What we want more of is better sex. It's about a better connection, better quality sex. Think about it for yourself. Has there been a time where you have thought, I wish we were having more sex, and when you stop to think about it, take a moment to stop and think about it now. Is it actually more of that same kind of sex that you wanted, or is it better sex? Is it sex where you feel more excited, more connected, more vulnerable, able to explore more with each other? This is the difference between sex and the erotic. I'm going to use an analogy for this. Candle. Right. I've just lit this candle. Okay, using just sex as the analogy, it would just be about me lighting the candle. I've lit the candle, it's done. It's a light. Congratulations. Okay, that would be just sex. We've done it. We've had sex. We're climaxed. Good job. Then let's move on to the erotic. The erotic would be, look at the way that this flame is flickering, and when I see that, it gives me this warmth, like cozy vibes. Look at the way that it's lighting up the glass around it. This scent of pine, this is a pine scented candle. I can smell the scent of pine, and it takes me back to that memory where I was in the forest. These types of things. Look how the flame lights up the room even though it's this tiny flame, or how it dances in a different way every single time. This is the erotic in sex. Do you see that? This is the erotic of, how do I feel? What am I thinking? What's the build up? What are the sensations? What does the touch feel like? What's the smells? Pleasures? What's the unknown? What's the anticipation? These types of things are the erotic, and this is what we always want more of. So this is number 2. The second mistake that men make is mistaking the erotic for just sex or just kinky sex when it is not that. And we focus just on our just got to get the job done, just got to make it good sex, and then we pat ourselves on the back, and then afterwards we're feeling like, oh, I want more sex, but it's actually better sex we want, and there's a very high probability of we're thinking that our partner's thinking exactly the same. So it's about shifting our focus onto the erotic, becoming more in tune with that. How do we do that? Simple things. It could be putting on some music in the background. It could be dimming the lights, putting on a color in the room. You know, all of these having a candle lit in the room. These types of things excites the senses. It brings imagination, and it makes sex about the erotic and the connection as opposed to just the physical act. Let me blow this candle out. And finally, number 3, focusing on one-way pleasure, whether that's our own pleasure or our partner's pleasure, versus togetherness, the connection, both enjoying pleasure, okay? So let me repeat that. Focusing on one-way pleasure, either our own or our partner's, instead of focusing on togetherness. Let me go into this in a bit more detail now. Let's get deeper on this one. What would it look like if we were focusing on our own pleasure? Let's start with that we don't really care if our partner climaxes or orgasms at the same time or at all in general. It's just about, we just want this release. It's just about our performance. I've just got to stay hard for long enough to be able to get the job done, and then we've done it. Great, let's roll over and go to sleep. Focusing on our own pleasure. We don't really care so much about our partner's pleasure. We may pretend to ourselves in certain ways that we do. Maybe we do a quick bit of foreplay or kissing a little bit, and then we try to get straight to it. It's about us being able to perform as men. Okay, this is focusing on our own pleasure. The other way that we can do this mistake is by focusing solely on our partner's pleasure. We think, oh, what if I can't get hard? What if I can't satisfy them? So I've got to hyper focus on their pleasure. And it can almost seem like we feeling we have to get things exactly right. We have to do things perfectly. Why aren't they making the noise that they were before? Why aren't they breathing in the same way that they were before? And our partner is laying there feeling like they're being analyzed, and they're thinking, why are we both not involved in this here? And it feels weird. It feels strange because the balance is off. Sex is about connection. Being in bed is about connection and doing things together. So when we're just focusing on our own pleasure, or solely focusing with this intensity on our partner must experience pleasure at all costs, it's got to be the best pleasure ever. When there's an agenda behind it for us to make ourselves feel better, for example, or we're only focusing on them, not thinking about ourselves, the balance is off and it feels weird. So instead, we spoke about the togetherness, the connection. This is about the balance of, yes, giving our partner pleasure, that's incredible, and also allowing ourselves to receive pleasure from our partner. And this can be a whole host of things. Okay, remember we spoke about the erotic, so it could be the touch, it could be massaging, it could be kissing around the body, as well as oral sex, as well as full sex in different positions. There's all different ways in every step of the journey we are able to both give and receive pleasure. And this is a really important step. We want to avoid one-way pleasure, our own or just on our partner, and focus on this balance of togetherness. You heard it here. They are 3 mistakes that men make that you absolutely want to avoid when it comes to the bedroom and intimacy. We spoke about experiencing both magical moments and miserable moments when it comes to sex. One thing that leads to a magical moment is sexual communication. Improving our sexual communication is a must if we want to take things in the bedroom from standard to sensational. So in a moment, you'll see a video that comes up on the screen that is one key tip for improving sexual communication. Go and check out this video. When you listen to that tip, it's very simple and easy to implement, but it is an absolute game changer for improving sexual communication and creating more magical sex instead of miserable sex. I'll see you there.